There's a specific kind of suffering that only happens to people who are built differently. And if you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not the suffering of failure. It's not the suffering of loss. It's the suffering of sitting in a room full of people and feeling completely alone, of having conversations that technically make sense, but leave you feeling emptier than before you started talking, of achieving goals that everyone said would fulfill you and feeling absolutely nothing when you get there. That's not depression. That's not ingratitude. That's your soul rejecting a life that doesn't fit anymore. And the reason you'll see this when your soul is ready isn't because the universe decided to deliver you a message. It's because you finally stopped trying to fix yourself and started questioning whether the life you're trying to fit into was ever meant for you in the first place. Let me tell you what's actually happening right now. You're running an operating system that's incompatible with the software your soul is trying to run. And I don't mean that metaphorically. Your nervous system, your beliefs, your daily routines, the people you surround yourself with, the goals you're chasing, all of it was designed for a version of you that no longer exists. And your soul knows it. That's why certain conversations feel like you're speaking a different language. That's why certain environments feel suffocating even when nothing's technically wrong. That's why you can be surrounded by people and still feel like you're the only one in the room who sees what you see, feels what you feel, and knows what you know. Because you're not broken. You're just trying to run advanced software on outdated hardware. And your soul is screaming at you to upgrade. But instead of listening, you keep trying to force yourself to fit. Keep trying to make the old system work. Keep trying to convince yourself that if you just try harder, care less, lower your standards, dim your intensity, you'll finally feel at home in a life that was never designed to hold you. And here's what nobody tells you about being built this way. The discomfort you're feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something's right. Your soul doesn't attach to messages, people, environments, or paths by accident. When you feel that pull, that knowing, that sense that you're meant for something more specific, more meaningful, more aligned, that's not ego. That's not entitlement. That's your internal guidance system doing exactly what it's designed to do. Showing you what's compatible and what's not, what expands you and what contracts you, what's worth your energy and what's draining it. But you've been taught to ignore that system. You've been taught that if something doesn't feel right, the problem is your feeling, not the thing. So you override it. You gaslight yourself. You tell yourself you're being too picky, too sensitive, too intense. And you keep pouring yourself into situations, relationships, careers, routines that your soul has already marked as incompatible. And then you wonder why you're exhausted, why nothing satisfies, why you keep achieving things that look impressive from the outside but feel hollow on the inside. It's because you're living someone else's definition of success while your soul is starving for alignment. Think about the last time you were in a conversation that actually fed you. Not small talk, not surface level niceties, not performative connection where everyone's just waiting for their turn to speak, but a real conversation. Where you could say what you actually think without filtering it through what's acceptable. Where the other person matched your depth, met your intensity, understood your references without you having to explain them. How rare is that? And now, think about how much of your time you spend in conversations that are the exact opposite. Conversations that drain you, that leave you feeling more alone than if you'd said nothing at all. that make you question whether you're too much, too deep, too different. And here's the thing. Those conversations aren't bad. The people aren't bad. They're just not your people. They're not running the same software. And instead of accepting that and finding your frequency, you keep trying to lower yours to match theirs. You keep trying to make shallow feel satisfying, and it's killing you. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, one hollow conversation at a time. And it's not just conversations. It's everything. Your routines feel like you're playing a role in someone else's script. You wake up, you go through the motions, you check the boxes, you do what's expected. And on paper, it looks fine. It looks successful. It looks like you have it together. But inside, you feel like you're wearing a costume. Like you're pretending to be the person everyone thinks you are, while the real you is suffocating underneath all that performance. You can't relax into your own life because your life isn't actually yours. It's a compilation of what you were told would make you happy, what you were told would make you valuable, what you were told would make you enough. And none of it is true. None of it fits. And your soul has been trying to tell you that for years, but you keep ignoring it. Keep pushing through. Keep telling yourself that if you just work harder, achieve more, become better, eventually it'll click. Eventually you'll feel at home, but you won't, because you're trying to make yourself fit into a mold you've already outgrown. Now here's where the dots connect backward. You've been looking at your inability to settle, your restlessness, your dissatisfaction with things that should be enough as evidence that something's wrong with you, that you're too hard to please, that you're sabotaging your own happiness. But what if I told you that's exactly backward? What if the reason you can't settle isn't because you're broken, but because you're being prepared? Every time you tried to force yourself to be satisfied with less than what your soul knows you're built for. Every time you stayed in situations that felt wrong just because they looked right. Every time you ignored your inner knowing to keep the peace, to stay safe, to avoid being difficult. You were collecting data and you couldn't see it then. So you couldn't see that every misaligned relationship was teaching you what alignment actually feels like. That every hollow achievement was showing you the difference between impressive and meaningful. That every moment you felt like you didn't belong was confirming that you're not supposed to belong everywhere. You're supposed to belong exactly where your soul leads you. And all those dots, all those moments of not fitting, not settling, not being satisfied with good enough, they weren't mistakes. They were preparation, because you can't honor what's truly yours until you've tried everything that isn't and felt the difference in your body. So let me be very clear about what's happening to you right now. Your soul is ready. Not ready to keep performing, not ready to keep shrinking, not ready to keep pretending that surface level connection, misaligned goals, and borrowed definitions of success are enough. Your soul is ready to stop auditioning for approval and start living from the inside out. To stop asking permission and start trusting your inner guidance. To stop diluting your intensity to make other people comfortable and start finding the people who match it. And that readiness, that knowing, that's what brought you here. Not because you searched for the right words, but because your soul recognized them. Because somewhere in you, you already know everything I'm saying is true. You've known it for a while. You've just been afraid to act on it. Afraid of what it means. Afraid of what you'll have to let go of. afraid of how alone you'll feel when you stop forcing connections that don't fit. But here's what you need to understand. You're already alone. You've been alone this entire time, surrounded by people who don't really see you, chasing goals that don't really fulfill you, living a life that doesn't really reflect you. And that loneliness, that isolation, it's not going to get better by staying. It's only going to get worse, because the gap between who you're pretending to be and who you actually are keeps widening, and eventually you won't recognize yourself at all. Here's how you start closing that gap. You stop trying to make incompatible things fit. You stop forcing conversations with people who drain you. You stop pursuing goals that look good but feel empty. You stop staying in environments that require you to be smaller, quieter, less than what you are. And I'm not saying burn it all down. I'm saying start making one choice at a time from the place your soul is calling you toward. One conversation where you speak your truth instead of filtering it. One boundary where you honor your energy instead of sacrificing it. One moment where you follow your curiosity instead of someone else's blueprint. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Yes, people are going to notice you're different. Yes, you're going to question whether you're doing the right thing. But that discomfort isn't a sign you're off track. It's a sign you're finally on it. Because comfort is what kept you stuck. Comfort is what convinced you to settle. Comfort is what made you believe that fitting in mattered more than being true. And your soul isn't interested in comfort anymore. Your soul is interested in alignment. And alignment doesn't feel safe, it feels right. And here's what happens when you finally start honoring that. You become unrecognizable. Not to yourself. To everyone who knew the version of you that was trying to fit, they'll say you've changed. They'll say you're different. They'll say you're not the person they thought you were. And they're right. You're not. Because that person was a performance, a costume. A version of you designed to meet external expectations while your real self waited in the shadows, hoping someone would finally ask who you actually are. And now you're done waiting. You're done performing. You're done pretending that shallow is deep, that surface is substance, that fitting in is the same as belonging. You're finally ready to be seen for who you actually are. And some people won't understand it. Some people will pull away. Some people will try to convince you to come back to who you were. And you're going to let them go. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because you finally understand that people who need you to stay small to feel comfortable around you were never your people. And paths that require you to abandon yourself to walk them were never your path. Now, if this is landing, if you're recognizing yourself in these words, if you're finally ready to stop forcing yourself to fit and start honoring what your soul has been trying to tell you, I need you to do something. Go to the comments and type 3 words. I'm ready. That's it. No explanation, no story, just those 3 words. Because when you declare it, when you name it publicly, you're not just acknowledging what's true. You're giving yourself permission to act on it. You're saying, I see what my soul is calling me toward, and I'm not going to ignore it anymore. I'm not going to shrink it. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm ready. And if you know someone who's been trying to fit into a life that's too small, someone who's been dimming their light to make others comfortable, someone whose soul is ready, but they're too afraid to listen, share this with them. Ask them to write it to I am ready. Because we don't honor our souls alone. We give each other permission. We witness each other's readiness. and we rise together. Subscribe to stay connected to this community. And if Super Thanks feels aligned, it helps these messages reach more people who need them. But whether you support or not, the fact that you're here, doing the work, sealing the cracks, that matters more than you know. Thank you. Here's what I need you to sit with before you close this and go back to your life. You've spent years trying to figure out why you don't fit, analyzing what's wrong with you, wondering why you can't just be satisfied with what satisfies everyone else, questioning whether you're too much, too intense, and too different. And the entire time, you've been asking the wrong question. The question isn't, why don't I fit? The question is, what am I being prepared for that requires me to outgrow everything that doesn't align? Because your soul doesn't make you ready for things that are beneath you. It makes you ready for things that require the fullness of who you actually are. And those things, those people, those paths, they don't reveal themselves until you stop trying to be someone you're not. So stop asking why you're different. Start asking what you're being called toward that only someone built exactly like you could answer. Because you will see this when your soul is ready. And your soul brought you here for a reason. Now, the only question left is, what are you going to do about it?